Drama, as Montrezl Harrell finally made headlines for the first time this season. Some casual fans even forgot he's still in the NBA. Last Friday night, a home game against the Bucks, after getting into an altercation with Giannis after the game, nominated for the cringiest moment from a player, taking his basketball while practicing his free throws, then proceeded to shoot jumpers on the other end of the court, having the audacity, trying to kick Giannis out the hardwood, acting like he owns the Wells Fargo Center, hating on the best player in the game that's trying to get better and improve. Montrezl acting very aloof. This season, Montrezl, 4 points a game, needs an espresso, not very special, has no game, very lame, his moment of fame, many already forgotten his name, scored 1 point, that same game, 1 of 4 from the line, can't aim, should be ashamed, free agency, nearly left unclaimed, already defamed. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Don't let the Harrell Antetokounmpo incident distract you from how bad Montrezl has fallen off. Now viewed as a borderline player, still 28 years old, 8th season, needs to be on his best behavior before he could be out the league for good, looking like a Kenneth Farid 2.0. who was out the league at age 29, went from one of the most liked energetic guys, instant bucket getter off the bench, from winning 6th man of the year to being the 12th man, very soon possibly the 15th man, 10 minutes a game, reuniting with same head coach after seeing Trez get destroyed by Jokic. Every time Harrell checks in, gets sent back to the bench instantly. Keeps reminding Doc Rivers who's the real king of 3-1 shivers. 14 games played, went from averaging a career best 18.6 points, 28 minutes with the Kawhi Paul George Clippers, where some even flirted with the idea Harrell as a borderline all-star, to now averaging 4 points less than a 3-year span. An absolute travesty of a downfall. Being the instigator, trying to get under Giannis' skin, don't even belong in the same court as Giannis, to be honest. Trying to make Giannis look bad on social media when there's more videos showing Trez who's the one in the wrong, antagonizing this whole situation. While the Sixers did a great job containing Giannis to 4 of 15 from the line, and Trez played less than 5 minutes, barely had any part of the team's win, simply acted like a jerk, Mr. Journeyman, honestly would have been forgotten that he's still in the league if it wasn't for that moment. Giannis, with a strong response, felt he shouldn't apologize and has every right to shoot, to be the antagonizer when no member on the Sixers was there. Montrezl wouldn't have the goals to do that to a player like a Charles Oakley, wouldn't dare to act like that to Steven Adams. That's also not the first time he got into it with Giannis. Committed the flagrant foul the year before, appeared to wanting to take out his shoulder. Thank goodness Giannis not like Anthony Davis. People can't even remember any highlight plays or any significant great game Harrell has had since his Clipper days, but remembers at least 3 altercations involving drama, making himself more relevant, seen as a troublemaker. But Harrell didn't always act like this. Drafted 32nd overall in the 2015 draft out of Louisville, 3 seasons with the Cardinals, including a national title as a freshman, numbers of 16 and 9 as a junior, picked by the Rockets 2nd round, a dunk machine every time he got to the rim, only 6'7", but a 7'3" wingspan, high energy type, undersized, lacked perimeter skills, a hit or miss, his ceiling a role player, relied on his athleticism and high motor, wasn't much his first 2 seasons with Houston, 97 total games, averages of under 7 and 3 in 15 minutes, even better numbers than his tenure with today's Sixers so far, part of the CP3 trade as a throw-in piece alongside Pat Beverly, Lou Williams and others. Clipper fans fell in love with his energy. Off the bench, 17 minutes, 11 points a game average as a restricted free agent. Developed into one of the most effective pick and roll guys with 6-man Lou Williams. Sweet Lou made Trez look the best out of any one of his teammates, having incredible per 36 of over 23 and 8, 3rd in effective field goal percentage, 8 in true shooting, barely turned the ball over, didn't over dribble, and oftentimes just went straight up for the finish. A breath of fresh air after the departure of Blake Griffin. LAC resigned Harrell for 2 years, $12 million. Emerged as one of the best 6-man on a team without any all-stars. Off the bench, 26 minutes, 16.5 points, 6.5 boards, played all 82 games for a 48-win squad, had 3 30-point games, absolutely at the height of his basketball powers, versus the 2-time defending champions, 1st round Golden State, scored double figures every one of the 6 games, including a 26-point Game 1, 25 Game 2, and 24 points Game 5, averaging over 18 a game on a team that took Golden State to 6, ran the floor in transition well. Him and Lou Will, arguably the best bench duos, alongside Gallinari, rookie SGA, automatic every time Harrell gets the ball in the paint, finished 3rd for 6th Man of the Year and 7th for Most Improved Player, a combination of being a workhorse with power and rage. One of just 21 players that season to play all 82 games. A super hard worker, recorded 203 total dunks on the season, only 8 alley-oops, many of his slams being quicker to the rim than his defenders, 73% shooting his first playoff run. Lou Will made Montrezl look sensational. Although still not a good passer nor defender, was utilized perfectly, played the right minutes, became one of the best value contracts at $6 million per year until 2020. The chest pounding, intense the opposing bench players feared him, played with reckless abandon despite recent negativity. Harrell could have easily fizzled out of the league after not playing much his first 2 years like many second rounders do, but of course the encouraging Lou Williams giving Tress the right advice. Relied heavily on hard energy with limited skill, super active even in the summer, whether it's the Drew League or destroying average Joes at LA Fitness, believing in himself as a hard worker. Understandable why he's feeling super frustrated with the lack of playing time, considered too fast for big men and too strong for smaller guards, driving on a decent team with guys considered underdogs, no real stars. Until the historic 2019 offseason, billionaire owner Steve Ballmer balling out big, signed free agent 2-time champion superstar Kawhi Leonard, viewed as one of the very best in the game. Also trading for multiple-time All-Star Paul George, huge expectations, championship or bust, even compared to the 96 Bulls, now seen as laughable, but Tress himself during 2020 even said he's the Rodman of the NBA.
Oh, I've been telling people I'm the modern day Rodman. For real, I'm the modern day Rodman, that's it.
Despite being in the deepest team and favorites to win the title, team bonding and cohesiveness simply wasn't there. Just their 3rd game of the season versus Phoenix, Clippers gave up 130. Leonard visibly upset on Lou Williams and Tress on different possessions. Lack of communication on the court, combined with Kawhi low managing early, Clipper locker room issues became noticeable. January 4th, after a 26-point loss to Memphis, this was Harrell's response about concerns in the locker room.
But like I said, you come in and no matter what time the game is, no matter what's going on, you just thinking you're just gonna walk on the floor and beat another professional NBA basketball team, you're kidding yourself. So it's just not gonna happen. So if we wake up and figure it out right now, we're just gonna have a full up and down season for the whole year.
A huge adjustment period. Leonard missing games absolutely rubbed Montrezl the wrong way.
It's just January right now, but what's the vibe of the locker room after a loss like this?
I don't know, brother. I don't know, and that may be another problem right there.
Without having a true point guard on the roster, team near the bottom in passes per game, his statements made headlines.
We're not a great team. That's, I think, one thing that y'all need to get out y'all minds. We're not a great team. We just became together this year. We have 2 players that never been a part of this team last year. We had a player that won an NBA championship with a whole nother team last year. So we're not a great team. That's number 1 right there. I think that's what we need to realize and wake up.
The concerns weren't as staggering since the team's still 25-12 overall, but those weekend afternoon games always killed those Clippers. The first big mistake Harrell made that damaged his reputation, and angry Doc Rivers blasted Harrell for leaking stuff out to the media, creating a distraction for the locker room. The team with vets PG and Kawhi playing for May and June didn't take the regular season as seriously. Both stars missed many games, combined with the quiet private personality of Leonard. Opposite of the vocal Harrell, couldn't relate. Totally different locker rooms from unproven scrappy guys a season ago, everybody on the same page, to having 2 different locker rooms, dealing with 2 high caliber stars. Being in a contract year, Harrell realized he needed to ball out and get his stats, which he did exceptionally well to get paid. Couldn't stand Kawhi and PG were doing things their way, especially when a few other Clippers hated that Leonard allowed to take games off and live 2 hours away in San Diego, which often led him to being late for team fights, no team disciplinary, a hierarchy hockey Trez hated. The main NBA storyline was supposed to be the battle of the two LA teams, Lakers vs Clippers supremacy, but the Clippers locker room battled with themselves. Harrell struggled dealing with the adjustment of the culture. Clipper fans also worry about Montrezl signing with Clutch Sports summer 2019. The pandemic delayed the regular season, plus the bubble made things a lot worse. The world was collapsing. The NBA created the bubble format down in Orlando. Montrezl had to leave July 17, lost his grandmother around that time, devastated and saddened. Lou Williams left the bubble for an excused family emergency, only to get caught in Magic City, got in trouble, ended up playing like Tragic Pity. After the shooting of Jacob Blake, Clippers, one of the teams that voted to not want to finish the season, the hike of the George Floyd protests, the Clippers also didn't have a team bond to begin with. Not all the players liked each other. Montrezl couldn't really practice with the team. Patrick Beverley also had a family emergency, had to step out from the bubble early on too. Drone right into the playoffs with barely any preparation, limited, made some headlines, shouting some racial remarks towards Luka Doncic Game 3. Harrell later apologized, but the whole team had a taste of defeat the following game. After a 43, 17, and 13 monster stat line, plus the insane game winner, Montrezl limited to 2 points on 1 shot that game, seen yelling at Paul George Game 2 of the Nuggets series, saying, "You're always right." His very worst nightmare on the court happened in round 2. Lou Williams became a shell of himself, sadly regressed and never the same with age. Zubac being in constant foul trouble against Jokic left the 5-inch shorter Harrell getting absolutely destroyed, abused, annihilated, and humiliated on all levels. Up 3-1, Game 5, him and Jokic shared the court for 4 minutes together in the second half. Denver outscored the Clippers by 18 those minutes. Game 6, Nuggets plus 12, and 5 second half minutes that Jokic spent against Harrell became the biggest liability and the biggest collapse in recent playoff memory. Exposed for his lack of defense, weak rebounding, PG and Kawhi got most of the blame, but Harrell's numbers went from over 18.5 points and 7 boards in regular season to only putting up 10.5 points, under 3 rebounds. His season couldn't end in a more painful, disastrous way, only to turn his back on the franchise, screwed them over by signing with crosstown rival champions Los Angeles Lakers. A shocking 2-year deal worth $19 million, blasted by Kawhi's trainer, wishing LAC be better off with Dwight Howard instead of that double agent Trez. Had some thinking, Montrezl being done with the Clippers, was he playing bad on purpose as part of the plan to screw over the team? Went on to praise LeBron's leadership, but didn't realize role players who takes the risk playing with LeBron and not winning, their careers get ruined. Believing Clutch Sports was looking out for his best interest when he's just another prop for LBJ, a guy who can put up good numbers on a discount. From Game 1 regular season versus the Clippers, you can hear Kawhi scream after Harrell bricked the jumper.
Veteran group out there for the Lakers. Montrezl.
For a guy that don't say much like that, pretty evident Leonard doesn't like Harrell at all. The Laker team hampered by injuries, the lack of energy from the squad, much of the same. Team looked defeated when their 2 stars went down, couldn't find his consistent Lou Williams pick and roll partner. Dennis Schroeder wasn't that guy, his liability fresh off everyone's mind from the bubble. Things got super ugly come playoff time due to a matchup concern against the 7-foot DeAndre Ayton. After a 21-16 Game 1 10 of 11 shooting, Trez received 2 straight DNPs. Those games the Lakers won. Defensive-minded Frank Vogel, having the size of Marc Gasol and Andre Drummond, of course was gonna play them over Trez. Despite even after Game 2's win, Harrell caught liking a few tweets on not being part of the rotation, believed he was more than good enough to be out there. Also liked the tweet after the Clippers down 0-2 to Dallas. A lackluster 5.8 point average, 2.5 rebounds, 10 minutes a game that series, traded in the Russell Westbrook deal, went from playing with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to playing with Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma in less than a year's span. His ego got in the way, disgusting Laker fans after being eliminated, disrespected Harrell on social media, the hostility of playing for the biggest superstar and huge market. Sadly, people do cross the line and should be held accountable for their despicable actions. Montrezl would have an amazing first dozen games with the Wizards, averages of 18.3 points, 9 rebounds, nearly 65% shooting, 29 minutes, going 9-3 to start, even ranked 6th in Basketball Reference MVP ladder, the highest honors of his career, then traded mid-season to the Charlotte Hornets for Vernon Carey and Ish Smith, seen as a boost to help the Hornets make a postseason push, which they lost in the play-in. Washington wanted more space for the newly acquired former All-Star Kristaps Porzingis. Harrell played okay, dropped clutch sports as a client for QC Sports in March. After the season, got in trouble with the law, had felony charges of marijuana trafficking, later reduced to a misdemeanor possession in Richmond, Kentucky, May 12. Last thing he needed was another distraction. Put his free agency on hold, signed with the Sixers as Joel's backup and an insurance in case Embiid gets hurt. 2 years, over $5 million. Absolutely limited playing time, 4 points a game over a month into the 23 season. The 28-year-old only double figures one time. His first 14 games, cracked over 20 minutes just once, doesn't have much value now from becoming a distraction in the locker room and the drama, trying to get under Giannis' skin, acting like it was his house when he's no longer 6-man quality but a 12-man off the bench with a highly diminished role, when it seemed like Montrezl was on the rise to becoming a great role player for years, to lashing out to the media after internal problems with the Clippers. In Trez's mind, wanted to be more of a vocal leader, believing he needed to step up and say what he truly feels about his superstars, and got punished for it. Took it the wrong way because he felt being one of the hardest workers, earning his minutes, worked his way up, but at the end of the day, the NBA is a business. There's no love lost from GMs to role players. Contending teams will always cater to their superstars and talent. Ultimately, the Clippers chose to side with two-time Finals MVP Kawhi Leonard, to nobody's surprise, allowing Kawhi to do whatever he wants and cater to his needs instead of caring about how Montrezl feels. It's like working a job being in a corporate ladder. The employee that helps the company generates the most money, being the most liked and having the higher status will be the ones the big bosses favor most. If you're not as good in your job, the ones writing your checks won't care if you're the hardest worker out there. It's part of the hierarchy. The NBA is no different, but getting upset, going to join the rival Lakers, burning bridges with not one but multiple franchises absolutely leaves a terrible reputation to his name. No matter how you look at it, the NBA is just like any other jobs. Having connections comes a long way, even if you're no longer as good as you once were. There's a reason why guys like DeAndre Jordan and Udonis Haslem still in the NBA, despite being super below average in talent and skill now. Those players very well liked and respected by their peers. Professionalism comes a long way. If Montrezl Harrell is serious about being in the league for at least 5 more years, he simply gotta get his act together. No BS. But matching him up in the bubble, guarding Jokic, Montrezl got destroyed out there, the biggest punishment Doc Rivers ever gave him. The whole Clippers team at its lowest point. If you think I'm being too harsh on Montrezl, it's just a simple truth. I'm just stating facts and telling like it is. Do I still think he can still be an impactful player? Absolutely. If he gets used to being in the right role off the bench, depending on matchups, it's not an accident why he balled out 2019 vs Golden State, since Draymond wasn't an offensive threat as a big who could bully him offensively. But against the Jokic's and the Giannis of the world, Montrezl would get eaten alive out there. Being part of a long list of players to put heart and effort in their team to help them improve, we can all respect and appreciate that. Building a culture that attracted better quality players and getting traded away, being reduced in a smaller role and taking it personally, even showing signs on social media, those things can absolutely come back to bite you. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George likely never wants to play with Trez again. Neither does LeBron or Anthony Davis, causing bad blood. If he can't get along with Embiid, could be out of Philadelphia real soon. And you know damn well, Giannis don't want anything to do with him after the incident. Harold also teeing off on social media and making it obvious that he's not happy at times, combined with being limited, super undersized 5 with no D, no rebounding, no outside jumper, a rim runner, and finisher. There's not going to be another Lou Williams by his side that's going to feed him the ball constantly. Now that he's a journeyman, 4 different teams in 3 seasons, passed around like a blunt, Montrezl Harrell simply needs to wake up, not allow his ego to cause tensions, just ball out and put up numbers if he wants to remain in the league for the coming years. Thank you so much for watching this video. Your thoughts on Montrezl Harrell and his downfall, if he's seriously not careful, could realistically be out the league before 2024. Can he ever bounce back and become a relevant sixth man again, or are his best days behind him? Let me know in the comments below. I love all of you. See you next time.